On 3, 2, 1. Welcome to this episode of Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon with myself and Alan Niven. Bonjour, Monsieur Alain. How are you?
Upright and breathing.
I'm assuming that it's warmer where you are than where I am. Let me see here. Let me check my quick weather. Oh, it's only minus 10 outside. That's all. It's only minus 10. God. And of course, on the other end, from not from the Great White North, but formerly of Great White or Jack Russell's Great White, it is Tony Cardenas-Montana. Bonjour, Monsieur Montana. How are you?
Bonjour. Very good. Très bien.
Très bien. So, tons to talk about. You, of course, got the Shadow and the Thrill album that came out, probably last year, I think, at this point, right? No, 2 years ago.
Well, just officially on the label and
Yeah.
to the real world, just at the end of 2020. So,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
I had a copy a while back, but of course we've got the single "Crazy" that is doing
Mhm.
exceptionally well officially here. What are we looking at here? I'm on. We're at about 75,000 views on not
Pretty
Twitter. What
good.
do you call this? You call this YouTube? That's what we call it.
Yeah, YouTube, and we've got it's I think we're over about 200 or maybe 100K spins on Spotify. So people are discovering it. And that's all we can hope for. I think once they do get a little taste of it and have a chance to actually listen, then I think we got it.
Yeah,
We
I'm
can
gonna
get,
pull
yeah.
this up. This came from the news this morning. Gary Newman of course, here in my car, blah blah blah. One of my songs got over 1 million streams, and I made £37. Eh. How is it for you in the streaming? Is it beneficial? Is it more just sort of an advertisement for shows down the road? Is it something that needs to be fixed? How do you sort of see the whole streaming? Because 100,000K sounds great until you get the $4 check.
Right, right. No, the compensation at this point is negligible, obviously. So I think there's got to be some kind of legislation to make that a little more fair. Um, Artists, are typically getting have been and will be and screwed for eons. Two of the people hanging behind Alan Niven's head right there, I'm sure, got screwed real good.
Yeah.
The old blues artists uh, uh, that they really never got their due and certainly didn't get the money that they were due. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that'll change. It's a good it right now. It's just a vehicle to let people hear it,
Yep.
and we've been, we've the beauty about Spotify too is that it is worldwide, and so we've seen a lot of activity down in South America, which I've never been to, which I would love to go to in 2021 if possible. So,
Or
yeah.
2022, and I don't want to sound like, don't cry me a river, but the $4 you get for the song is a lot more than any of us get for podcasting. We're the unpaid content creators. They stream the heck out of us, and they never send you a penny. Alan, talk to me about your relationship with Tony real quick, and bringing him into the Great White Fold.
I've got good
Well,
stories.
Yeah,
first,
how you reeled in the big
first of
fish.
all, first of all, I'm going to ask, do you know what Muddy Waters was doing the day the Rolling Stones turned up at Chess Studios in Chicago for the first time?
What he was doing?
Yeah,
Making coffee. I have no idea. What, he playing?
he was painting the walls,
Oh,
which absolutely blew the Brits' minds that here was this incredible legend getting an extra couple of bucks by painting the walls of Chess Studio, which
hmm.
tells you a lot. And in terms of meeting Mooney for the first time, as I recall, I think we spotted him while he was queuing up for the school bus, and he was what, 13, 14 years old at the time. Had a little Kiss lunchbox in his hand. And we
Wisely
thought,
had a kiss with lunchbox. It's very wise. That's good. That's a good thing.
there's a likely lad. But no, he came and auditioned and shone, and my reaction was immediate. Yeah, he's great. Not really thinking that much of what's it going to be like going almost straight from school onto a tour bus, but I've got to say he handled it with grace and intelligence, and he did really, really well for his young years. And if I was going to make a comment, quite obviously to me in my dotage, my old age, I have to say that Mooney is the most talented all-round member of Proper Great White. Really good guitar player, has become a really good songwriter, has got a terrific voice, and no wonder Slash took him out on the road with him. To go to Australia and Dar es Salaam and I don't know, Borneo, was it?
Oh
Or
man,
something?
all over.
Yeah.
Every nook and cranny of Asia and Australia, New Zealand.
Didn't you also audition for either Velvet Revolver and or Slash's band? Because I think there's some demos or something out there where you vocaled.
Yeah. For Velvet Revolver, there was
Right.
a moment where Scott, I guess, was on the outs or something, and so and I at that time I was, for the most part, I don't want to say retired, but I certainly was on to other things other than the music business, and I got the word of that, and so I hunkered down and I got a couple of tracks that they were working on, and I had to write something to it and record something, and so that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. I think I like what I ended up with. I don't know if I don't think anything happened after that though. Unfortunately, that would have been something else. That would have been something else.
It would have been a way to keep Velvet Revolver going. I think one of the songs was called Sewer Pipe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's right. Wow, God bless you.
Yeah, you see, I got my research down.
Nice.
Speaking of research and Alan as a manager, you are the chief creative director and officer for Vnue.
Mm-hmm.
With Zach Baer and Vnue. Back in the day, you might have known them as Disc Live. You go to a show and whatever, the Black Crowes or Kiss or whatever, and sort of like the Insta Live kind of thing. Talk to me about what your position is in Vnue and what do you do as a chief creative officer and director?
Well, at the moment, I have to wear quite a few hats because it is kind of a small crew. But I think a part of my responsibility is to usher in any kind of new technology that we're working on, almost a product development, kind of position. And we are working right now on a device called Soundster, which is meant to listen in to either radio stations or a venue, a live music venue, and to be able to ID music, check that music against a database, a fingerprinted database of music, and be able to identify who the publishers are, who the writers are, and be able to provide that information to whoever's supposed to be paying these guys, and to speak to your, to speak to the whole Spotify thing and that whole problem. This is, our way of at least trying to level the field a little bit, and so far it's going well. We're in beta with the system and
clear this up for me. How is that different from Shazam? Because everybody's got Shazam on their phone. They hold it up and they go, "Oh, it's Eddie Murphy Party All Night Long." Great. All right. How is this different from that, or is it sort of the same thing? But
it utilizes that same kind of technology.
Okay.
But the fact is that this is a an actual device that's going to be sitting within a venue, a radio station, whatever, and it will be monitoring 24 hours a day and listening 24 hours a day. So that's the idea. A lot of live music venues and radio stations are paying a blanket license to the performance rights organizations, and the idea of actually paying for what they use is apparently a new idea. Who would have thought, right? So if they don't play music 24 hours a day, they're not going to get. They shouldn't be charged for playing music 24 hours a day. And on the other side of the coin, whatever they do play, the correct people should be paid for those performances.
Right.
Right now, there's an algorithm that the PROs use to pay artists, and it's not necessarily, it has nothing to do with the actual plays of music. It has to do with other things, the charts, and in that case, you can imagine that artists that like the ones behind Alan's head there they're being played, they're being exposed significantly, but are their estates getting compensated? Probably not. So this is a way to, why shouldn't we have actual data? It's possible in this day and age. So why don't we go after that? So that's what we're doing.
Right, and that seems beneficial to the bars to not pay a blanket license if they're not playing music 24 hours a day, and it seems fair because the way I see it is sort of the big bands, the mighty gets, the rich get richer, and an independent artist who might be getting some plays in a small indie club never gets a penny because they're not accounted for.
Yeah, that's what we're going after, and hopefully that'll progress, and it'll be something else. It's just something for me to. I've always been a tech-minded guy, a music-minded guy. I did have my own company for many years called Disc Factory. That was my, a little minor hit for me, outside of music. And
Disc Factory generated $13 million of revenue.
It was
in 2005.
Healthy little business. Yeah, it was an Inc. 500, noted company in those years. One of the fastest growing companies in the United States.
I'm going to throw the obvious but maybe somewhat silly question. If you're having this success with Disc Factory, in 2005, it's the 500 fastest growing companies in America, yada, yada, yada. Why go out with Jack Russell and tour the small clubs and play the small things? Why bother with Shadow and the Thrill? Why sit here on a FaceTime chat with me? Why not just go be the company and just have a private island?
Oh wow! It never was at that level. Forbes 500 would have been nice, but it was moderately successful. It was lovely to be part of an entity and to be responsible for that entity that provided jobs and helped people put their kids through school and put food on their table and let them pay their rents, for the employees and stuff. That was cool. But I will be honest. To be honest, after conceptualizing something and building something and launching it and getting that baby up on its feet and toddling around, the next step is a pure business play of just trying to beat the numbers every year. And you know what? That is just a drag. That is a drag. And there's no excitement there for me.
Right.
So to start something new, to be some kind of a serial entrepreneur, maybe is what you would say I am. Maybe that is kind of what draws me, and what I did directly to get out of Disc Factory and to extricate myself from that partnership, which would have gone kind of sour, was to start another venture called Monster Circus, which was a kind of a full high production Vegas show that we did for a little while there until we had some problems, and then after that, I got to play with Slash for a little bit, and then Jack came knocking, and I was like, I'm ready to play this music again. I'm ready to. It took me a while to be in that headspace, to be able to go back to that time in my life in Great White and to play that music again. One of the things that really did push me over the edge, though, was to go see the band live, to see Jack with these guys that were the band at the time. And, although I think everybody was, certainly a competent musician, I felt like it was important for me to contribute to the steward uh, uh, of my legacy with the band.
Right.
Let me put it a little simply.
Okay.
Let me put it a little simple, because I remember the telephone conversation, and I was asking the similar questions, and Mooney put it perfectly, and it came from a performer's heart. And he said, Niv, they're all out there having fun with my songs. Why can't I go and have fun with my songs? And I said, when you put it like that, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That absolutely. And we've had a good time.
But
we haven't had a good time out there with Jack. And
let me talk about having a good time just real quick, because there were, two Great Whites for a while. There were lawsuits. I was even deposed in the Great White lawsuit. They had asked me some stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, good times. Nothing says good times like getting a lawyer's letter. That stuff was going on, and were you hesitant at all in getting back into that situation where there was these two factions and there was fighting, or did you just say, you know what, I'm just gonna go play the music. I'm not gonna bother with this. Just focus on the music and not get sucked into that drama.
Well, my experience with my show in Vegas had taught me quite a bit about litigation, and I ended up with that organization again, versus some nefarious characters out of Vegas in a federal lawsuit. So I looked at the whole entry into Great White through that glass, and immediately, as soon as it got out that Jack had asked if I would play with him, there were some threats from the other camp.
The sharks were circling, right?
Yeah, they were going to sue. They were going to sue me personally, for whatever. It was just baseless, right? So it gave me a little bit of pause, but I knew it was a bunch of BS, and so Jack and I just kind of said, I guess we just kind of locked arms and said, we're going to do this. And I will say that I sat with Jack on one side of the aisle against the other guys on the other side of the aisle in federal court in Los Angeles, to fight for our right to be able to go play our music.
And listen, I think it turned out great. You've got Great White, and with Mitch doing his thing, and you've got Jack Russell's Great White. What? Look at that! Come on! I have it. I have it right here, live.
What's the label called? Mediocre Karaoke.
It's called. It's on the Great White 2020 label. Look at that.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not going to throw any darts at it. I've listened to it.
Either.
Listen, I've listened to it musically. It's where it should be. If you sort of close your eyes and pretend that it's Warrant or Def Leppard or some band with like a cleaner kind of vocal, it works. But is it down and dirty Great White? I mean, Jack is Great White. Stephen Pearcy is Rat. And, you can argue whatever else you want, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to
There
leave
you
it at
go.
that.
There
You
you
know,
go.
but Jack does great. So, talk to me about coming into the band, because Lorne is there. You replace Lorne, and the band is on an upward trajectory. How was that for you in terms of coming in and involving yourself in the band? Did you have the freedom to be Tony, or did they say, "Hey, this is what Lorne does, just follow that," or did they say, "Hey, you're the new kid, just do what we tell you"? How was it for you to insert yourself in the band?
I think there might have been a little bit of the new guy and just kind of fall around along a little bit. I'll give you a story though.
Pretend
Uh,
Alan's not here. Did Alan tell you just to sit in the corner and do what
Well,
he?
if you're going to pretend I'm not here, I'm just going to throw one comment in, and that comment is in terms of the new boy, who one, and I'll tell you this. I'll put it in this context. Slash's favorite Great White riff is Mr. Bone, and the new boy came up with that.
you know
Good
what?
song.
There was there was certainly a feeling of responsibility that if I'm going to come in, I don't want to be the reason that the tour and the subsequent albums are less successful than what I had walked on into. So uh, I was bound and determined not to let that happen, and I was going to try to be helpful, try to be a contributor, and it that's how it ended up. It ended up us being really becoming a band. And that's the first time I ever felt like I was really, well, not the first time, but there is a feeling of being, you're a gang. Now you're a gang, and you're going to go out and you're going to kick ass. And if anybody walks up and, nudges one of your bandmates in the back, you're going to be all over them, and that's the feeling that I had with those guys at that time. And we carried that along for a while, and we did some good work in those 5 years that I was with the guys.
Yeah.
We did quite a bit of work, and when I look back on it now, uh, obviously, and Alan and management and the label and all those people working together, you really compress as much uh, output as you can into those years, into that time period, because you have to take advantage of it. You've worked, they had worked so hard to get to that level. You have to just take advantage of it, and it's hopefully it's a lesson that I'll be able to exercise here in the coming years, doing whatever it is I do now.
The Shadow and the Thrill. Answer the question, yes or no. Hooked is Great White's greatest album, and Call It Rock and Roll, written by Tony Montana, is the band's greatest song. Yes or no? The answer is yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, I guess. Okay, but obviously, I was a contributor, and as well, same thing with Miss the Bone. Um, but yeah, those are fun, and there is some gratification there, being in the band and playing those songs when I'm out with Jack, and for people to recognize and still enjoy them. It's good. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
So, in terms of Shadow and the Thrill, the album came out recently, as you said, on a record label and so on and so forth. Where do we go from here? Is it a side project that you just did because you wanted to do something fun, or is it a band that you're going to get out into the clubs when they open, of course, and tour it, and second album, third album? What's sort of the plan?
I certainly do want to play. I Shadow and the Thrill really, and everybody will ask me who's Shadow, who's the Thrill. I suppose that Shadow guy is me. That's my little brooding part of me, my blues singer, blues guitar guy persona. Um, the Thrill is whoever's going to be playing with me, and I've got some I've got great friends that are all great players and performers, and I'm going to take, I'll take out who makes sense at the time. We're going to go out and play. We're going to go out and deliver this because it's worth the effort. It's worth hearing. And right now we've got a full, frontal assault on radio, as whether radio is a factor anymore in some people's minds or not. It's a factor to me. And
Well, I'm going to ask you this because I had this discussion with a guy here in Montreal called Jeremy White. He's our number one on-air host in Montreal, and he said, you know what, radio does matter because radio pays, and so you want to have a single on radio because you can have your million streams and your $4, or you can be on 50 markets and get a nice chunk of change. So it does matter to the artist.
Does matter, and it provides us an introduction to that market and to go play live for folks. That is absolutely my goal. I've got shows with Jack. I'll have shows with Shadow and the Thrill, and we're just hopefully going to round out the year when everybody gets up and going. We'll stay busy. That's really what we want.
Yeah, well,
I have a quick note.
Yes.
And this is for Alan, because he's speaking of my first day and meeting Alan for the first time. He comes in and Alan is a presence, and anybody in the industry will tell you that. He walks in a room and is like, oh geez. He comes in the room and we're playing and I'm doing my thing. And he's sitting there, and I walk over to meet him, and he asks me, "Do you have any drug convictions?" And I thought, because I mean, that's like the last thing, and me personally, that would ever happen to me. I'm thinking convictions. I'm thinking he means, am I interested? Do I really like some certain drugs or not? Convictions in that sense of the word, I'm like, no, I don't. I'm like really not in. I mean, he's asking me from a purely pragmatic, standpoint. Do you have any convictions? Because we're going to try to get out of the country and go play. That's going to be a problem if you do. So, anyways, you didn't know that, but I thought that was pretty funny.
That's right. And then of course you go ahead and record a song called "Wasted Rock Rangers," which is
right.
Totally.
Well.
It's a great song, I have to say. Alan, any questions that you want to add, or anything you want to throw in here?
Not really. I mean, the one thing that resonated with me that Tony was just saying is that it is quite extraordinary that material that we worked on 30 years ago still connects, still sounds good on the radio, still sounds to have the vibrancy that we thought it had the day we recorded it. I mean, that's your test right there. The test of time is all. And for us to still be on the radio and for me to be able to hear something almost every single day is really quite extraordinary.
It is, and we have a channel up here on TV called Loud. Bell Media plays this channel called Loud, and they play these rock videos all day. And I see Great White pop up once a day. I mean, the other day I was surprised because they had Great White, and they followed it right up with Trickster, and I was like, look at that! Now we're really going. But yeah, so.
Well, and again, this is from the benefit of hindsight, but I think it's fair to claim that that band produced a wider, more interesting and more eclectic catalogue than almost any of their contemporaries. Because one of the things that we didn't do was try and remake the same song over and over again. And we tried to negotiate our way through different states of mind, different emotions, different atmospheres, And if you actually go back and look at the whole Great White catalog from that period of time, if we say, 87 for the next 5 years, it's a very solid body of work.
It is, and let me ask you this, because we've had this debate since then of hair metal, hair metal, hair metal. A word that I personally don't. I mean, I have nothing against it. Whatever it is what it is. But you and Tesla and Cinderella, you all got lumped into that, and I don't think you were doing that sort of straight ahead melodic rock. I think there was a lot of blues influence. There was a lot of other stuff going on. Did it harm you or hurt you or help you to be lumped in with the Warrants and the Poisons, and then get onto the Scorpions tours, or did getting lumped into that scene eventually hurt you as we moved into the 90s?
Well, I don't think it did as much good. And there was a period of time when one of my little managerial dictums, I laid down the law. I said, keep out of Hollywood. Don't be associated with the other Hollywood bands, because I could see where that was going. And it's like anything. When you get a wave of success, it becomes formula. And we got into a terrible pattern of formula.
It's called the power ballad.
The two rockers and the ballad, and the amount of Aquanet that you had to use, and so on and so forth. Sure. But that's why I mentioned Great White Catalog, because if you go back and look at the whole box of tricks there, I think you'd walk away saying this band is more like a early 70s British blues rock band than a Hollywood hair band.
Certainly. And to speak to that, and I tell you, that is a lesson I learned from Alan. Alan's been obviously almost a constant in my life since that time, and I've always listened very closely to what he has to say. To make an album and to fashion your work not so much around a genre or a sound, but to just try to kick out good songs, and that is what I tried to do with Sugar Bowl, this album, from Shadow and the Thrill. It is. I've heard people say, "Oh, it's kind of eclectic," and I'm thinking, it's just songs, man. No, they don't all sound the same. No, you can't pigeon, you can't put that round peg in that square hole. But whatever, it's honest, and I think that having at least some, it's still a rock record, but it's certainly varied, and there's a lot of different different moods and vibes and atmospheres in there. And that's something I definitely learned from Alan. Speaking of hair metal, I was thinking about this while I was in the shower, taming this fucking mane, which I am going to chop off and donate to some wig maker for
somewhere. Yeah, that's what I did last week.
When I was a teenager teaching guitar in the store where Great White, where I met the guys from Great White, or got the audition from, back in that time, your length of your hair or whatever was not so much a fashion statement as much as it was a statement of, I'm gonna play music, and I can't work at McDonald's. I can't do anything that's normal. This is a statement of my commitment. And the longer it was, the more committed you were, because for sure you're not going to get a job doing anything normal.
Eric Brittingham was committed.
So when they say hair metal and they treat it as though it was, there's these beauty shots of guys flipping their hair around and stuff. Yeah, it's lame, but the impetus of it was something else.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and listen,
I want to tell you something else.
I don't get insulted by hair metal when you say it,
I
it
agree.
describes a scene, and you go, "Oh, okay, I know what we're talking about." I mean, it's an adjective, but anyway.
Yeah, I guess so. It's become a term of endearment, really, in a lot of respects.
Yeah,
But I want to say
and
something
everybody
else.
runs over to Hair Nation on Sirius
Right,
XM. Nobody's
right,
complaining. Anyway, whatever. At least it's
right.
not Poodle Rock like they called it in the States, the UK.
I want to say that also,
Yes.
I listened to the Klaus Meine interview you guys did, and that was awesome. And to be on with you is it's an honor. I love being with you guys.
Merci bien. When well, there we go. We'll call it a day. That was perfect. Thank you. There we go. Well, we'll end on you complimenting me. That's the best way I should end all my interviews.
All right.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Tony, Chief Creative Officer and Director for Vnue. You can check that out at Vnue.com. And, of course, Shadow and The Thrill and Great White. No, Jack Russell's Great White.
Yeah.
Plenty of stuff going on. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Merci, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
I'll be in
Happy
tow.
Audition Day.